The 49ers got great NFC West news as they sit atop the division 4-1, having defeated all three of the NFC West division rivals. My favorite producer and wife curated 4 questions for me today. And although I got a sneak peek on 3 of these, one of them is going to be an on-the-spot question I have not heard yet. So I'm looking forward to that and so much more on today's edition of Win the West. Hit subscribe if you're looking for daily 49ers content like that. But let's get into the first question. State of the Union question. My wife is going to be bringing them for us, so let's talk about it as we head into Week 5. What is your question?
All right, Nate. So obviously on Thursday, we had a huge win against the LA Rams, but that win did cost the 49ers because we got even more banged up during that big game. The Niners right now sit atop the NFC West, but can they sustain this, especially thinking about all of those injuries?
Great question. So to clarify what Hannah's talking about there, if you don't already know, so Kalia Davis went down during the game. Alfred Collins finished the game, but ended up being a little bit injured after the game, after a massive game, special game for him. We lost Yetur Gross-Matos, is going to be out for a little while. We learned after the game that Brock Purdy is going to be week to week, not day to day anymore. So that's a disappointment. That's a downturn in terms of his injury status. But we got a lot of other great news about a lot of players who are coming back. We have great news around even like what we saw out of a banged up team and what they were able to pull off despite the injuries. And they went into that game massively banged up without Nick Bosa, without George Kittle, without Brandon Aiyuk, without Ricky Pearsall, without Juwan Jennings, without Brock Purdy. There's a lot of guys that they went into that game without already. So, yes, they did get more banged up. Most of those more banged up guys, though, like Kalia Davis is day-to-day right now. He had surgery on his hand. I believe they think that he's going to be playing with a club. So he might be ready to go for the Tampa Bay game, but we'll wait and see on that one. Malik Mustafa is coming back from injury, so that's another good injury update for the 49ers. George Kittle's not quite ready, but he should be ready coming back. He's technically possible for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, but it's likely he's going to be the week after. So anyway, guys are coming back. Here's what I'm going to, in terms of your question, the Niners, are they able to sustain this? I believe is how you phrased it. So firstly, you've got a mini bye. So if you're going to take some like day-to-day injuries, you'll take it now where you've got a few extra days rest. It helps. It does help because we've heard Kyle Shanahan talk about it in the past. The way that you can treat just a few days without football. Just take a few days and be away for a little bit, relax, watch football on the couch like the rest of the world does, that kind of thing. That helps. Mentally, it helps. Physically, it helps too. And so that's going to help. You're going to have, if I'm the athletic training staff, which by golly, be glad that it's not me because I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. But what I would do is I would be telling these guys, go home, spend time with your families, relax. Do not do anything beyond stretching, icing, whatever recovery stuff that the training staff has told you to do. Just do that stuff and don't do anything else. Just take some time for your body to heal. And when you go into Sunday feeling like now you're just now starting the injury, everyone else like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who are also banged up are just now starting it. So and that's another good point. Like we're going up against a banged up Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that you might be going up against a team that's almost as banged up as you are. Not quite that much, but definitely almost as much. So that's huge. And the Rams game, like this was proof that coaches and culture will beat athletic talent and lack of mental fortitude all day, every day. And I'm not saying that the Rams have no mental fortitude, but you have to agree that between the two teams that showed up, the 49ers were more gritty. They were more willing to put everything on the line, and we saw that on Thursday night. We saw the 49ers able to out-culture and out-coach the opposing team, despite the fact that the Rams are one of the healthiest teams in football going into that Thursday night football game. I haven't checked their injury status after the game, but I assume still one of the most healthy teams in the NFL. You got to give the 49ers massive credit for that one. All right, go ahead. Hit me with your next shot.
Okay, so as we had hoped, Mac Jones and the 49ers offense did more dink and dunk plays, especially early on in the game on Thursday. Is that sustainable, or will other defenses just adjust?
Okay. So I've got some thoughts on this one. Obviously I was one of many people. I'm not the only person out there, but I was one who was saying, I really want to see the 49ers dinking and dunking. I want to see them short yardage plays, maximizing that opportunity because you're banged up, because you have a backup quarterback and you're trying to figure things out. So yeah, I did suggest that. In terms of whether or not that's sustainable, or if defenses can just adjust to that quote unquote, and I helped you with this question, so I'm not criticizing you for the question. Number one, yes, it's sustainable. It is sustainable. We saw it for years with the New England Patriots offense. They managed to destroy teams with 4 to 8 yards every play. They just destroyed teams in that middle of the range. They had so many Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. There's so many slot receivers go through that system who would just kill you through the middle of the field, but in short yardage situations. And so, yeah, they would still throw the deep ball, but it was not the staple of their game. And that is something you got to give credit for. In addition to that, you look at what the Rams did in the passing game. There were several where they just sliced us, right? But there were some plays out there like that one on the 1 yard line pass where Devontae Adams does the rub route thing. They killed us with that play all day. And that's a short yardage play. That's not a big play. So yes, it's sustainable, but two, it's not forever. I'm not saying play like this all season long. I'm saying for a short period of time, like just play the game a little bit tighter, a little bit closer to the chest, and don't play too much hero ball. We've seen Brock Purdy throw a bunch of picks. We saw Mac Jones only throw one, but it's not worth it to me to constantly try and stretch the field. I think it's worth it to play it smart and play the game that is protect the football first, right? That's what quarterbacks are told to do. And so I would like to see the game schemed that way. And I think we saw that this weekend. I thought there was one pretty risky play that Mac Jones this weekend, last Thursday. You know what I'm saying? I think there was one risky play that Mac Jones threw that he didn't need to throw. But other than that, I felt like everything was schemed up so well that Mac Jones is throwing the ball into an empty space when it's leaving his hand. And then a wide receiver makes the cut, and there it is. Boom, right in the hands, right in the breadbasket. Number 3, Mac Jones showed that he can take meaningful, deep shots and trust Kyle Shanahan's system. He talked about that. I think I said it in yesterday's video too, but he talked about that after the game, how he's learned to trust Kyle Shanahan a little bit more. He's never had a coach who could just scheme guys open like that, where Kyle literally said to Mac, like, throw it to this guy, he will be open. And Mac Jones is just trusting when I throw it there. Well, you see the benefit that has on him. Mac Jones is now potentially going to be looking at a similar contract situation to Sam Darnold because of his experience. Now, obviously, Sam Darnold had to go and play for the Vikings first. But I told, not you guys, it was on a different channel. I went on another channel last offseason. Yeah, but it was before he went to the Minnesota Vikings. When he had just gone to the Minnesota Vikings, I told Minnesota Vikings fans, you guys, like, seriously, Sam Darnold's going to be solid. You guys trust this. I'm not kidding. And I really did credit a part of that being working with Brock Purdy. Not because Brock Purdy is the best quarterback in the league, but because Brock Purdy is the least likely candidate to be a great quarterback in the league, and he's being a great quarterback in the league. So if you can learn from anybody, if you can be humbled by anybody, and you're like a great first-round draft pick, you're going to learn from a guy who was the last pick in the draft and is finding a way to be successful. You're going to sit there and you're going to humble yourself and be like, hey, I'm behind this guy, and I was a first-round draft pick. I was a top draft pick in my draft, and I'm learning from him. And that humility has got to help you in a lot of ways to see there's something going on here that works, and I want to figure out how to do it. KOC is a like-minded kind of offensive mind, and so he can scheme around that quarterback. We've seen that with Kirk Cousins. So I'm not saying that it's all Sam Darnold. I'm saying Mac Jones is showing that he can get in the same situation as we saw happen and play out for Sam Darnold. So anyway, number 4, final. Is it sustainable? Yeah, because we have reinforcements coming, so we don't have to do it forever. It's a for now, not a forever thing. It's always been an element of the Niners game to have screenplays. That's a good example of a play that starts 99 times out of 100 behind the line of scrimmage, right? And so you're throwing a ball to a guy behind the line of scrimmage. I love that. I want to see more of that. And I know we don't have Deebo Samuel, but it doesn't mean we can't do those kinds of plays. We saw a great screenplay just a couple weeks ago with Christian McCaffrey that was a decisive play in the Niners being able to win against the Arizona Cardinals. So all I'm saying is reinforcements are coming, so that's going to mean that it's going to open up the playbook back into the way that gives Kyle Shanahan all of the opportunities and puts your quarterback, whoever it is, Mac Jones or Brock Purdy, not in a position where they have to play hero ball to make those deep throws because they have such a great connection and there's such a great talent on the other side of it. So that's where I'm at. Okay. But before we go any further, I want to talk about a super interesting sports betting system I came across recently. The Capper Collective pays for the premium picks of the top 50 sports betting handicappers in the world and combines them all to provide the ultimate consensus picks every day. I love this idea because it makes a lot of sense to me. Since their inception last year, they have a proven track record of winning consistently for their members and are already up over 110 units on the year so far. That means that $100 bettors would already be up over 10K this year alone using their system. The collective subscribes to and tracks the performance of all of the top sports betting groups for you. Their proprietary algorithm makes sure that only handicappers who legitimately win long-term are used in their consensus system. This kind of sports betting innovation doesn't come around very often, so I'd highly recommend checking out the Capper Collective's premium membership options. They're offering a special discount to my subscribers right now, so hit the link in the description and use the code STSF for 25% off. Now, back to the video. Give me the on-the-spot question that I have not listened to. I do not even know what you're about to ask me. Hit it.
All right, I have a little bit of a weird question for you, Nate. Right now, if you could pick any of our many injured players and completely return them to 100% health, meaning that they were at the top of their game, it was their best season ever, which 49ers player would you choose to magically heal? Why would you pick that player, and how do you think that player being completely healed and ready to play would impact the 49ers for the remainder of this season?
Okay, you got like 3 questions in there. But so firstly, if I had to pick one player, that's tough. There's a lot of players you could pick, right? Like you could bring in magically healed. Brandon Aiyuk would have a massive impact on this team regardless of the quarterback, so that's a tempting one. George Kittle is one of the most tempting ones ever because of everything he brings to you. Magically healed George Kittle would affect everything about your run game and your pass game. So that might be the right decision. But I also have to think about that young defensive line and what they've been able to learn throughout the offseason from Nick Bosa, and I think I'm going to have to go Bosa. We've seen what Kyle Shanahan can do with a ragtag bunch of guys, and we already have George Kittle coming back soon. Brock Purdy should be coming back in the near-ish future. He wasn't IR'd, so I'm gonna assume that means that even though he's week to week, that he's not going to be like 4 or 5 weeks. But I guess we'll wait and see. Brandon Aiyuk would be really interesting. That one's really tempting because he's such a solid wideout. But man, yeah, I'm gonna go Nick Bosa. So you need that help on the defensive line, not just in the regular season, but you need him through to the playoffs. And I guess I don't really know if in your question you're saying that he would be healthy if you're guaranteeing health for the rest of the season, Nick Bosa is probably that right option there. But I think the defense could really do with having a healthy, he was in great form coming into this season, do a lot with having Nick Bosa back. So I'm going to go with Nick Bosa. He's the only guy of the ones I mentioned. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else I'm missing. He's the only main guy who's out for the season right now who would have such an incredible impact on this defense as a whole. A great defensive line makes linebacker play better. So your linebackers are better when you have a great defensive line. A great defensive line makes your cornerbacks better and your safeties better. So your secondary is improved because it becomes harder and harder for the quarterback to get the ball out with time, not under pressure. So I would say Nick Bosa for me. But guys, this is a good one. Let me know in the comments what you guys would do. Who's that one player? Is it Nick Bosa for you? Is it somebody else? Let me know in the comments. Fantastic question. I'm not sure if I answered all of the little pieces of your question there, but I respect it. I love it. Hit me with question 4. Fan question.
Okay, Nate, we're going to take a question from your YouTube comments. Your guy, David, also known as Zeke, commented on the fact that the 49ers ran it 3 straight times instead of trying to get a first down at the end of the game, which would have just ended the game right there. What do you think Kyle Shanahan was thinking there? And do you think that was the right call?
Okay, so situation. Niners are up by 3. Little bit of time left on the clock. Not a ton of time, but a little bit of time there. And the way that the situation plays out is essentially, as we've seen many times in football, you have possession of the ball, you have the lead, the goal is get a first down, okay? The problem is the Niners were basically on the goal line. I mean, they were really tight. And so because of that fumble recovery, right? So they're sitting there and they have this opportunity where if you get a first down, you guarantee the game's over essentially because there's not enough timeouts for them to stop the game, to end the game, right? Or to save the game, rather. So what your two options are is go for a first down, or what Kyle Shanahan elected to do is run the ball every single time to guarantee the clock doesn't stop, to force the Rams to use all of their timeouts, okay? Now, the interesting thing there is if they were on the 15-yard line, I think they're trying to get a first down. Now, they're probably not throwing the ball. Like they might be doing a toss or they might be doing a draw or something like that. But they're not like, they're all going to be run-like plays, right? Screenplay, something like that. Any high percentage throw where you're not worried about an incompletion that stops the clock. The issue, because of where they're located and the risk of the safety, remember, the big issue with the safety, and I saw there's a great comment on the live chat we talked about at the time, but the risk with the safety is they get 2 points and they immediately get the ball back with great field position. Theoretically, great field position because the kick is from so far away. So I think the play, it was a risk-reward thing, and Kyle Shanahan was asked about it after the game, and he basically said it this way. If we force them to use their timeouts, we're guaranteeing they get the ball with good field position, but we're guaranteeing they get the ball with no timeouts. And he basically said that they didn't think they were going to be able to get a touchdown without timeouts. There wasn't enough time on the clock. You see how it plays out where the Rams are able to get into field position for a field goal, and they could tie it up. I'm getting it mixed up with the overtime part. Sorry. Anyway, they get into field position for a field goal, okay? Give up some big plays. Like this was the drive that Tutu Atwell, I think, had just a huge slice through the 49ers defense, and I was just like so disappointed because Siegel was in a full sprint and not able to catch him. That's how fast and how quick that cut from Tutu Atwell ended up being, who's always an underrated wide receiver for the Rams, but now we at least know because of last year. All that being said, they end up not being able to convert for a touchdown, having to kick a field goal, and it goes to overtime. And I think the thought, Zeke, or David, I believe is your name if I remember from live streams, the thought is, do you want to take the risk of going into overtime against Matthew Stafford? Do you want to take the risk of going in there and not knowing, are we going to get the ball first? Are we going to get the ball second? Do we have to score a touchdown? You don't know going into overtime what the minimum requirement is to win the game. So I like the play in normal situations of go for first down. Do what it takes to get a first down, but don't risk throwing a deep ball. Don't risk throwing a dangerous ball. Throw a high percentage pass or run the ball. The interesting thing there, again, because of the yardage, because of where you're at, is the Niners elect to take the risk and take it to overtime. They basically say, worst case scenario, we'll go to overtime, which is how Kyle Shanahan essentially phrased it. I agree with the decision because the game's over and we won. But in the moment, during the live stream, I was a little nervous about it. I wasn't loving it. I was like looking at this. It's obvious they're going to run it right up the middle. Everything sets up for a run up the middle, and the Rams defense is just going to stuff it every time, as they did. You could even see the way that Christian McCaffrey hit the line. There was no, I'm trying to break tackles and do something special. It was, I run as many yards as I can, and I double cover the ball, and I just go down wherever it is. He literally, not quite go down, but he literally would run into it, and then he's just there, standing in position, holding the ball, and the Rams have to come through and take his legs out in order to get him to actually take a knee. So all that being said, had we lost that game, this is a drive we go back to and we'd say, you guys, why did you do that? Why didn't you throw the ball? But with how banged up Mac Jones was, it was a risk to say we're going to trust Mac Jones to do another drive to try and get them in position to win the game. And you got to give the 49ers credit because they did both. They did take the risk and it did pay off. They were able to get the stop at the end of the game in overtime when it mattered on a 4th and 1, an absolutely brilliant stop. And so, I guess I'd say because of the yardage, because of being on like the 1 or 2 yard line, I will say, yeah, it was the right decision. But boy, it had its own risk involved. There was no easy decision. Either one could have blown up in your face really badly. If you decide you're going to throw the ball and you throw an incomplete pass, they don't have to use a timeout, and now they're marching down the field and they're going to win, then you just blew it. So the high percentage play, according to Kyle Shanahan and whatever their analytics were, the high percentage play was run the ball and guarantee they don't have timeouts. Good luck. We'll take you on in the overtime. So fascinating move, though. Great question. And thank you guys for joining this edition of Win the West. And I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say in the comments as always.